Commanders select Emmanuel Forbes at 16. But right now, let's, for the first time today on our show, talk about the rest of the draft, Sir Anthony Haney. Let's get into pick by pick. We'll try to go 1 through 15 now. And then next segment we'll get to the rest of the draft, 16 through 31. Actually, we can go through the Commanders here. I think people know that we like the pick, so it's not even like there's a lot of stay tuned next to see our grade. Like, we get it. So the Panthers have the number 1 pick in the draft. They take Bryce Young. This one's pretty easy. To me, he's the number 1 overall pick, or number 1 overall player on the board. Incredible intangibles, fantastic leadership, the right kind of guy to kind of set the tone for a franchise. And by the way, I think he's going to produce at an extremely high level, like borderline Pro Bowl player. He'll be a top half quarterback for better part of a decade. This is an easy pass for me. I love the pick, Bryce Young. And I like that Carolina made the trades to go up and get him. Like, restart your franchise. You weren't going anywhere because that trade happened so long ago. Like, people forget about it. But I actually love that trade, and I love the idea by Carolina to do it.
I love it as well. But did you see what Matt Corral posted?
No, what did he post? It's the first time I've thought of Matt Corral in 2 years.
He posted something and then tried to delete it. But, once you post something to the internet, it's there forever. But basically he put up a quote that says, they basically said, don't stay in a place where no one sees your value. And I guess that's more so him not, or I guess that's more so to Bryce Young being drafted by the Panthers. But you got to go out there and get a franchise guy. Panthers made the right decision, moving up, in my eyes, drafting the best quarterback on the board. And, yeah, hopefully they're going to turn over a new leaf.
I'm talking about former third-round pick Matt Corral?
Yep, that Matt Corral. Yep.
Who couldn't even get into training camp or get out of training camp last year, Matt Corral?
That one, I think. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yep. He's salty.
I mean, if you're gonna be salty, this is what I'm gonna be an old man here. Don't be salty on the internet.
Yeah.
Be salty privately. Yep. Let people know, hey, I get it. Thanks. I understand that you guys wanted to get Bryce. He's a great player. I really want a chance to compete for a starting job. Can you guys shop me? And if not, I'll be a good soldier and I'll be the best backup I can be. But I think, and I'm gonna compete. I'm going to push him. I'm going to go beat him out. So if you don't want that to happen, trade me. Like, don't do that on the internet. Kids these days, tweeting everything. All right, Houston Texans.
Whoo!
I really like what they did. They go C.J. Stroud at 2. Obviously, they put up a ton of smoke screens, but to me, the thing was, I would really wanted them to get Will Anderson because I think he's like a franchise tone setter type as well. And, to use the quote that Landry Locker used on our show earlier in the week, it's like DeMeco Ryans drafting DeMeco Ryans. And to get that kind of leader, to get that kind of tone setter, well, I think was really important. And I think they could afford to do it and just kind of accept not winning a lot of games this year and get in the quarterback sweepstakes next year. Instead, they do both. They get C.J. Stroud, who I have no idea what to make of Stroud. He had such an ideal situation at Ohio State. 3 NFL offensive linemen that are going to get drafted this year. Paris Johnson gets drafted last night. DeJuan Jones probably goes tonight. So does Luke Whippler, his center. And then the ridiculous stable of wide receivers he's been throwing to over the last couple of years. But they do both, and then they get Will Anderson as well, but the trade up. And that is the luxury of doing what they did, and being like, fine, Deshaun Watson, you're a terrible person and you would like to leave. We will happily trade you. Of course, they would have loved for Deshaun Watson to not have been a terrible person and have Deshaun Watson at quarterback. That would be far more ideal. But because they have all those picks from Cleveland, they can afford to trade up where a lot of teams can't. And they struck it big and they get both guys. I give pass on Stroud Anderson for Texans.
I think it's consensus that the Texans were the biggest winner of the night, to be honest. You go out there, you get your franchise QB, but also defensively, you get a guy that you can also build around that's been drawing parallels to somehow Von Miller. Like, if he's drawing parallels to, Von Miller, maybe less bend, more power, but still a guy that's going to wreak havoc. I think it's going to be good. as they continue to build there in Houston. Again, they're young. They got a first-year head coach, and you just got to build the team up, and they'll be legit contenders in a few years.
Agreed. And then they'll see if they can get him some playmakers tonight.
Yes.
Continue to build, but they at least have Stroud. They have Stingley, a playmaker from last year. They have Will Anderson who can set the tone on that defense. So now can you build it out?
Yep. They got some weapons, man.
Yeah. All right. Colts. They go with Anthony Richardson. Shane Steichen gets a guy that is, obviously an extremely talented runner, probably a more talented runner than Jalen Hurts even, but not nearly the passer that Hurts was coming out of Oklahoma. They're very different players. But I love this. The more I hear from and hear about Anthony Richardson, the more I like him. He is the best athlete to ever come out that's a quarterback. And he's one of the best athletes to ever come out in the NFL draft, period. Like, he's that freaky. And if he has got his head on straight, which by all accounts he very much does, he wants to be great, I'm willing to bet on that. And especially, in Indianapolis where Shane Steichen has a little bit of a longer leash. He just got there. He can take 2-3 years. And you know what, Anthony? Like, here's the underrated thing. I think they can be a pain in the butt this year with him.
Yes.
They're going to run the ball a lot. And he's going to run it a lot, and Taylor's going to run it a lot, and they could both wind up being 1,000-yard rushers this year.
Bold prediction.
They could.
Right there.
They
bold
could.
Prediction.
17-game season, a little less bold than it used to be.
Oh yeah, you're right. We do have to factor in that extra game. But yes, I think it was a no-brainer for the Colts at 4, especially with Steichen coming in. And I called Z as soon as they made the pick, and he started millie rocking. He was so excited. But again, I think the Colts are going to get back to like what they were or what they used to be. A downhill, play action kind of team. Smash mouth, physical.
And they should try to load up on some speed on the outside.
Yeah,
because he's got a cannon to throw it deep.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Colts, Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And it's sort of kind of a weak division. I think that division is up for grabs. Yes, the Jags are probably at the top, but aside from that, I really think it's like anybody's division.
Yeah, it's a weird division for sure. By the way, in order to average 1,000 or to get 1,000 yards rushing in the 17-game season, you only have to average 58 a game.
Dang.
Which isn't really that special.
Yep.
But I think Richardson can do it. I mean, special for a quarterback.
Yeah.
But telling me he can't bust off a couple 20-yard runs every game, and then, if he's running 10 to 12 times a game, like, he's getting that.
Yeah, but it's the NFL, though. I feel as though, like, if you're doing something 1 week, in 2-3 weeks, that ain't going to be happening. So, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, he's going to have 100-yard rushing games for sure, because there's going to be a week where he busts a 75-yarder.
Yep.
Like, he's that fast. He's that freaky. All right, Seahawks, Devin Witherspoon. This would be an interesting one if we weren't doing pass-fail grades. Devin Witherspoon, I love as a player. I have to give pass here. I do think it's interesting that they took a position they've already got a stud at. Like, Tariq Woolen was so good for them last year, and I guess it does make everything better. Like, you want to improve your pass rush, make it impossible to actually get the ball out of the quarterback's hands because nobody is open. And Witherspoon brings a physicality, a presence, and everything to that position. He is the best corner in this draft. There's a reason he's a top 5 pick. And I thus give the Seattle Seahawks a passing grade as the team that took him.
I agree. I'm giving them a passing grade. I was a little shocked that they didn't go get Jalen Carter to help bolster their pass rush. But the fact that you add another stud defensive back when you already have Woolen, you already have Quadri Diggs, you already have Jamal Adams, and you just brought back Bobby Wagner, oh my gosh, the defense is about to be crazy in Seattle. I am still a little worried about the pass rush and them being able to get to the quarterback.
But like I was saying, man, you bring Wagner back in the middle, who helps clean up some of the middle stuff. He's a fantastic zone player.
Yep.
Like generational, not as good as he used to be, but still so smart. You have the 2 corners on the outside. Like it's kind of like when you draft an offensive lineman to make your run game better instead of drafting a running back.
Yep.
It's like there is such an impact that one guy can have on your running game. Oh, instead of, and then your backs become more interchangeable. Your pass rushers become a lot more interchangeable when you have 2 shutdown corners on the outside.
Yeah.
And the question is often like, which is causing which? Back in the old Carolina days when Josh Norman was at his peak, like Josh was incredible, but he had a ridiculous defensive line that made Josh even better and helped get him that massive contract. But obviously, he took care of his opportunities. Well, all of a sudden those opportunities are not here in DC. It's a very different type of game, and he looks like a very different corner. In Seattle, they're trying to take the opposite track. Like, let's just have two incredible corners that quarterbacks are afraid to throw at, and hopefully that gives enough time for our pass rush to get home. So it's an interesting strategy. Mm-hmm. Okay, we are going way slower than anticipated, yes, but I do like the analysis. So we'll just stretch this out a little bit. We'll keep going through the draft. Picks that we like, picks that we didn't. We're, so far we're 5 for 5 on pass, but I will tell you there is a definitive fail coming up in the next group of 5. And we'll see if we can get to the Commanders in the next segment as well. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. All right, Sir Anthony Haney, let's get through the next couple of picks. We're going to try to get a little bit faster, get at least through the Commanders here, or get close to the Commanders. So the Cardinals, although I will admittedly say I want to buckle down a little bit on them because I love what they did as we are giving our pass-fail grades for the entire first round of the NFL draft. The Cardinals had signaled they wanted Paris Johnson, but they ultimately get their guy later than, this is kind of the exact example of what I was talking about earlier with the Lions and with the Commanders. Like, if you can find the trade partner and still get your guy, that's the way to do it. If not, you stick and you just take your guy. But they're able to knowing that, teams wanted quarterbacks and move things around all the way up at 3. Where obviously the Texans were able to go back up, get their quarterback at 2 in C.J. Stroud, but not miss out on Will Anderson. They're able to trade back, get Paris Johnson to protect Kyler Murray's blind side, and they pick up something early in the second round. They picked up more, obviously, traded some of that back to Detroit to go back up from 12 to 6. But this is how you do it. This is how you manipulate the draft and get a premier player. Massive pass. This is probably one of my favorite things. I know I just love the transaction game, maybe a little bit too much, Anthony, but I love what Arizona did last night.
Yeah, the Cardinals were definitely one of my biggest winners of the night as well, being able to get a guy in Paris Johnson to, just protect Kyler Murray's blind side. You want to, if you're investing in, Kyler Murray, you got to be able to invest in things around him, and the line is a huge part. So going after getting Paris Johnson was huge for them.
Yeah, definitely. And so that is the 6th pick. Let's see. Next is the Raiders with Tyree Wilson. This is where I get my first fail of the day. He is super intriguing. I also think he is there's just too much bust potential for me with him. And so taking him at 7, considering what else is on the board, considering Jalen Carter's on the board, and look, Jalen Carter to Las Vegas, considering some of the questions about him, like this is a real thing Vegas has to think about. If a guy's got a reputation that he's not the hardest worker, do we want to put him in Las Vegas? But at the end of the day, there's a lot of other directions they could have went that I think would have been good, solid picks that nobody would have blinked an eye at. They go with Tyree Wilson, who is definitely, the dude's got Giannis's wingspan. He's incredibly intriguing, but he is also someone who has a foot issue that's ongoing. Foot issues and big guys scare me, and his production wasn't really that good at Texas Tech, and here he is, a top 10 pick. Basically, it's a giant projection pick. I don't really love that for the same reason that I'm fine with the Commanders taking Forbes despite the size, because Forbes produced his tail off. Tyree Wilson didn't. Sometimes these guys work. Often it's a bust. I'm going to go fail on the Raiders, although it's like more of a C- than it is like an F.
Yeah, I'm going fail as well. I just don't understand the pick, to be honest. You have Max Crosby, who you just re-up with. Last year, gave him a 4-year deal, and then you also have Chandler Jones, who has 2 years on his deal. I was confused. You have other glaring needs, and you decide to go with another DN/outside linebacker. I just don't get it. But he is a phenomenal talent, but still, you have other glaring needs.
Yeah, I don't I don't particularly get it either. Okay, 8. Everyone thinks this one's probably a fail. It's a massive pass for me, though. Bijan Robinson goes to Atlanta. I love this pick so much. I said it yesterday during our mock draft. If you are a team that is trying to have a 1,200-yard back, and all of a sudden that 1,200-yard back is actually an 1,800-yard back because he's a potential Hall of Fame type of player in terms of the type of comparisons and projections that people have for him, his skill set is that good. That is worth it to me. Give me that guy. Yes, you could have gone Jalen Carter. Yes, you could have gone a couple of other different places that would have been intriguing. But I like taking the guy who's awesome. Give me the awesome player. And this guy is a bucket breaker. Yes, you typically can get really good backs later in the draft. I don't think you get a guy like this later in the draft. And if he goes on to win a couple of MVPs in Atlanta, no one's going to care that he was picked 8th.
Hey, I'm with you, Craig. I think this is a super pass for me. Yes, they already have Cordell Patterson in Atlanta, but guess what? Bijan Robinson, you can have both of them now. You can have multiple, 1,000-yard backs, especially with how they want to run the ball and how much they want to run the ball. So
well, that's the thing, too, is like, obviously, Cordero played receiver for a long time, so you can split him out. Bijan's really versatile. You can split him out.
Yep.
You can have these guys on the field together. They will probably run 2-back sets. And here's the thing with running backs. Part of the reason why you don't take them in the first round is there's a huge longevity issue. These guys are not elite for a long time. Adrian Peterson, in that way, is like the ultimate.
Him and Derek.
Ultimate. Henry's been good. But, like, Henry didn't get the workload until later in his career. Part of the reason why he did that is because they waited 3-4 years before they loaded him up with 300, 400 carries. It's not like he's been doing that since he was a rookie, right? Yeah. And that's why he's still effective, like nearing 30, or he might even be 30 at this point. With Bijan going to Atlanta, where they have Algiers, they have Patterson, they don't have to give him 300 carries this year. Like, he can get 200 carries and another 50 catches, get him 250 touches, and that's worth it because he's going to be good and you can keep him fresh over the course of his career. Yeah, eventually you're going to have to sign him to a pretty big contract, but you're not going to be signing a player that's already broken down by the time he gets there. Like that, that's part of the reason I actually like it. All right, Philadelphia Eagles at 9. PFF has this grade as elite. We're only doing pass fail, but yeah, this is one of the best picks of the first round.
Good gracious.
Jalen Carter, arguably the best player in the draft. He goes to a place that can absorb him. There are serious questions about his character, and that is before you get to the legal issues around him racing his, in that fatal crash, where he did face a charge and receive some probation and some other things. That to me is just a terribly sad, mistake, and his role in that is more unfortunate than it is a reflection of some kind of future danger. I would hope that he learns from that and is far safer as a driver and is a responsible member of society moving forward. The questions are work ethic related, right? But this kid has also been through so much over the last couple of months where if that turns out to be an aberration or it's something that can be worked on and fixed, as he's surrounded by Nakobe Dean and ultimately Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis, his former college teammates, and pros like Brandon
Graham.
Brandon Graham, thank you.
Fletcher Cox as well.
Fletcher Cox, like in that room, those guys are going to wrap their arms around him, and if they get the best out of him, like this is going to be a nightmare to face twice a year.
Man, the Philly Bulldogs. That's what we got in Philly right now. Jalen Carter.
Did you see that someone redid the Eagles logo with the G in the Eagles being the Georgia G?
Yep. It's going to be scary. It's going to get scary.
That one's a pass. All right. Let's round out the top 10. Darnell Wright going to Chicago. I actually really like this. Tennessee tackle. He's nasty. Could I see them going Skoronski? Yes. But I think they clearly wanted to go tackle here, and Skoronski is a guy that people have real questions about being able to play tackle because his arms are not very long. And so can he keep that edge in the way that you need to in long arm guys in the way that you need to as an offensive lineman, or if you're as an offensive tackle? That's a real question. So Darnell Wright, no question. Big, long, physical. He's super powerful. That fits with what they want to do. And he was also really good in pass protection. He allowed just 8 pressures in 2022, and that's in the SEC, lining up against guys like Will Anderson, who he completely shut down. So I like this pick for the Bears. I think Wright, the kind of latter half of the process, I think, had a lot more juice with teams than the mock drafts reflected. I have no problem with this Bears passing grade easily at number 10 with Darnell Wright.
I'm going to keep it short and simple. Pass. And the only reason I'm keeping it simple is because they took the guy that I wanted for the Commanders.
Yes, even if he wasn't going to be. The Commanders should have tried what you did yesterday in the mock.
Yep.
And we're just going to take him anyway. We want Darnell Wright. He's already taken. We
Oh,
don't care.
man.
We want Darnell Wright. All right. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, we will continue breaking down the rest of the first round. You can get your thoughts on as well on Twitter at Craig Hoffman, or leave us a comment in the chat. I'll check those during the breaks. Streaming live at youtube.com/@theteam980. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the free Odyssey app. When we last left our rankings, Anthony, we were at the Tennessee Titans. Peter Skoronski gets picked there at 11. Easy passing grade here. They took probably the best, certainly like the best, safest lineman in the draft. There is very little chance this guy's not a very good player. The question is whether he will be a really good tackle, an elite guard. Maybe he's an elite tackle, but chances are he's probably a really good tackle or an elite guard. And Tennessee could frankly use both, because Tennessee can use just about everything, it feels like, outside of like a safety.
Yeah, I'm giving them a passing grade as well. Taylor Lewan is gone, so I guess Peter Skoronski is supposed to fill that void, but he's a guard. I don't know. He played
left tackle and played really, really well last year. So like it's not unreasonable that this guy's.
They're going to be running too, though.
Yeah.
So I think that really goes in his favor, despite having the little arms that he has.
Definitely. And the thing is, like, that's only a problem if he sticks at tackle, and it's only a problem if it's a problem. He graded out exceptionally high at Northwestern. It was a part of turning their program around with his arms the length they are.
Yes.
So that is what it is. All right. Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. This has to be a failing grade. I'm just not convinced that they couldn't have gotten him later, including at their pick at 18. And look, I will say this again. If you're going to failing by taking a really excellent football player who's going to help you win games is a good way to fail. It just means that you could have gotten another good football player and this football player, and that's where the miss is. But the player itself is a pass. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs is really freaking good and probably deserves to be a late first-round pick, but they got him at 12, and that's the issue.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Definitely a failing grade. I'm thinking, the Lions had other pressing needs, maybe another DN to pair opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Jameer's also, he's really good, but you also have Swift there already. But now there's reports that they're looking to move off of him. But still, you could have got this guy in the second round, no question.
I wouldn't say second round, no question. You could have gotten him at 18, no question. And then the question is, because you got Jack Campbell in the second round.
Okay.
And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Because remember, they pick at 34. Like, they've got the third pick of the second round.
Yeah.
That's all part of the Jared Goff trade. So those are the Rams' natural selections. All right, Green Bay. Obviously, they switched with the Jets in the Aaron Rodgers trade. They take Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. I'll give this a pass, but like, I'm pretty lukewarm on this. I would have loved them to take a playmaker, but that might also be spite for Aaron Rodgers. They do need some desperately. Like, I would have been more okay with the Packers taking Gibbs if he had fallen, actually. I would have been like, you know what? That's a big reach, but that kid's going to line up everywhere, and him and Aaron Jones and, what they got in the backfield would have been interesting. But at the end of the day, like, you also can help your quarterback by having a really good defense. Van Ness seems like a very solid player, and they he fits kind of what they do. You need those hard edge setters for that defense, and that's exactly what Lucas Van Ness is.
Yeah, I mean, you give him a passing grade, I give him a failing grade. Again, Jordan.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm thinking Jordan Love. Young, sort of kind of inexperienced.
Not sort of, kind of. Very inexperienced.
Very inexperienced. Not a lot of weapons, and not a lot of experience at the wide receiver position. So I'm thinking you got to do everything in your power to help him, like help your offense. I think the defense is going to be fine. You still have Roshan Gary. You still have Preston Smith. And yes, you do want to have a strong defense, but the direction you're going now, you have to go out and get a playmaker. And I think that's the route they should have gone.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard for me to go fail when they get a guy who's a very good football player at a value that's not ridiculous. But I hear you. Team needs wise, they certainly had better needs. All right, Steelers, they trade up. They get Broderick Jones. I saw someone today on Andrew Filipponi's show in Pittsburgh on 93.7, our sister station there, say that Broderick Jones will go down as the best left tackle in Steelers history. I don't know the pedigree there. I would think they've had some good ones over the years, considering how much winning they've done. But at the end of the day, like I struggle with this one because I don't love Jones. He is super inexperienced and is a part of like this crazy offense at Georgia that just produced its face off. What happens when you're, blocking for Kenny Pickett in, a different scenario? But I'll give them a pass. I think they probably do need to get younger and add some talent to that offensive line. They've got their quarterback, obviously. They've got really good receivers. They've got Najee Harris. So I'll go pass on Broderick Jones.
Yeah, I'm going to go pass as well. I think towards the end of this season, we saw the Steelers start to run the ball and lean on Najee Harris a little bit more. You get a guy in Broderick Jones that can move. He's massive, looking to get downhill. I will be willing to run behind him. So I'm thinking that's what the Steelers are going to do with Broderick Jones there. Yes, he'll develop as a pass blocker. But in terms of running the ball and, helping out Kenny Pickett, I think this was a great pick by them, passing grade.
All right, Jets, they take Will McDonald out of Iowa State. In a way, I feel bad for the Jets because they got stuck. In a way, I don't feel bad for the Jets because they got stuck in the most Jets way because they traded for Aaron Rodgers, which I still don't think was a very smart move. And that's the reason they don't get the guy they actually want, which was Broderick Jones at 13 because they traded down and get stuck with Will McDonald at 15. This doesn't seem like it's great value, but you go by the tier system. It's just he's a tier 1 guy, or a tier 2 guy that gets taken as the first tier 2 guy, really. Well, I guess Gibbs, but I'm going to give it a fail because it's like a direct result of the Rodgers trade where they screwed themselves and they give up a ton of stuff, and I don't think the Rodgers trade was smart, so I don't think it's necessarily worth it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a fail as well. I think they just pick somebody just to pick somebody.
Yeah, which like he might be a good he's super twitched up. Like there's a lot of stuff there. Wasn't crazy productive, but there's a reason he was the 29th player on PFF's big board. And like at the end of the day, if you gave up your left tackle of the future for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers and Rodgers doesn't revert to, maybe it's a couple years of Aaron Rodgers, but if it's not MVP Aaron Rodgers and you gave up your left tackle of the future and let's say Broderick Jones is actually awesome, then you really, really goofed up.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the trade you made is you could have had your left tackle of the future with Broderick Jones. And look, Broderick Jones for Aaron Rodgers is a lopsided trade in favor of Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers at 40 versus 10 years of Broderick Jones plus whatever else, the Packers are able to get in the second round and whatever other picks ultimately come from this trade when all the pick swaps and, contingencies are played out. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. But I'm also thinking that they're probably going to try to move off of C.J. Mosley. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. All right, and last but not least, Commanders, 16, Emmanuel Forbes. We've talked about it a lot. Pass.
Pass.
Big pass. So, Anthony, we left off at pick number 17. That is the one after the Commanders. That is the one that the New England Patriots used to take the guy that many people thought the Commanders would take. That is Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. I have this as a pass with flying colors. Look, Belichick has messed up a lot of stuff, but corners that's the position he's known very well. They've done very well with guys like J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore they've drafted over the years. Obviously, they haven't been able to keep those guys, which is a different story, but not before they became all pro level players. Gonzalez has the size and speed. This seems like a pretty easy no-brainer pass. And some people thought he would go as high as like 6.
You already know where I stand. He's a pass. That's the guy I wanted.
Yeah,
but
no,
I'm not going to cry over spilled milk anymore.
No, and you might wind up celebrating that Manuel Forbes is a better player who gets more interceptions.
Yes, sir.
The question is, does he give up more in the process? Is there other issues?
It's a great question.
All right, this is probably my least favorite pick of the round. Detroit Lions. Look, I can defend the Jahmyr Gibbs one at 12 a lot easier than I can defend on the Jack Campbell one at 18. He is a good football player, very smart. He's 6'5", 250. Like, he's a monstrous human being. But in the NFL, can he cover? And that is what linebackers have to do a lot of. And does he fire to the ball with an elite level that gets you value at the 18th overall pick? Like, he's got to be an all-pro for this to be a smart pick at that position. It's just, and it's a position that so many guys struggle to translate to. And there's a reason PFF had him 39th on their board. It's a bad positional value pick with a guy that isn't like this massive upside projection in the same way that Jamin Davis was a couple of years ago for Washington. He's probably going to be pretty good, but is it a good use of a first rounder? I feel like it's going to be hard for that answer to ultimately be yes, and especially when you pick again at 34, and I think there was a really good chance that you could have taken, I don't know, like I mean, there's a huge run on wide receivers. You know, let's say a corner. Let's say they took Deonte Banks there, and used him to replace Jeff Okudah, and then you still get Jack Campbell at 34. That's how you do it. That's how you get value. And look, maybe they were like, we couldn't risk it with Campbell, and we're going to take Julius Brents at 34, and that's the guy we wanted at corner anyway. It's hard because it's critical, but I actually like the player, and I like what Detroit is doing. So it's a very weird criticism. I admit that. It's frustrating because you're like, but you could do more. And in that way, in the pass-fail situation, it's a fail.
I'm going fail as well, man. And I agree with your thought process revolving about, getting more with your draft picks. And I think the Lions in general, they were the biggest loser to me in this draft.
Right. But it's the kind of thing that we might look up in
it might all work
years,
out for them. Yeah, it might.
And you're like, man, that 2023 draft killed them at the time, but at the end of the day, that helped them win, make the NFC Championship game because Jahmyr Gibbs scored the game-winning touchdown after Jack Campbell, got the game and then sealed it with the game-sealing fourth down stop. Like, it's not crazy.
Yeah.
It's not crazy. What I do like is the fact that they are not going quarterback. They should stick with Goff.
Yep.
He's still not that old. And he's actually, I think, kind of good. Shoot me. I think Jared Goff's a decent quarterback.
I think he's pretty good, too.
He was best quarterback. Him or Kirk were the second best quarterback in the NFC last year. Low bar. Would have been like the 8th best in the AFC, but
he beat A-Rod last year, too.
Sure did. And then the Jets traded for him. Suckers. All right, the Bucs take Kalijah Kancey.
Ooh, we might disagree on this one, Craig.
19. I don't hate this. Like, the Bucs are just kind of starting over. Like, I don't even know what they have. Like, I feel like I can't name 10 players on their roster at this point because they're just like, yeah, that guy's hurt. He's retired. That guy we're going to let expire. We're trading this guy. This guy's out. Like, they are not going to be very good unless Baker Mayfield reverts to a version that we haven't seen in like 3 or 4 years and he wins that job. Very clearly they weren't super high on Levis. That would have been the easy one. But apparently they're kind of excited to see what Baker can do and what Kyle Trask can do, which is the kind of thing that you say when you don't really have another option and you're trying to get into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes for next year. But Kalijah Cansey's a potentially really excellent football player, and he's not one that's going to have some kind of major impact this year, and that's fine. He'll learn the game, and maybe he will. Maybe he'll have a bunch of tackles for loss, and he'll just be kind of in a lost defense. I don't know that it fits exactly what they do in terms of they probably need some space eaters for the speed they have at the linebacker position. But if they're working on revamping what they do and they want to go to like the Warren Sapp model, like Kalijah Cansey's a good player. I'll go pass here.
I think I want to go fail here, Craig. And part of it is because you have Vita Vea already and you just re-up with him.
Sure, but he's your one technique. Like,
yeah, so
Cansey's
is Kalijah going to be – he's going to the 3? Okay.
Yeah, he's not big enough to be a one technique in the league. He's definitely a 3 technique.
Yeah, but I was more so trying to figure out, are they going to be – is this going to be a 3-4 kind of defense, or are they going to go with the traditional 4-3? And I don't know. I don't know.
I think Vea and Cansey is an interesting, because like Vea's the big space eater.
Yeah.
Cansey's the small, quick dude. And you
still got Shaq. You still got
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't hate it. It's hard to give fails in a pass-fail situation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not telling you it's an A, but like it's a, if
not
my
a
line
D
is
or
like
F.
C, he's like, he's a C+.
Okay.
Type of situation. So he passes.
I guess he is slight pass, just
and
pass.
It's not based off the board, based off of positional value, based off all that stuff. It's not a bad pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see if we can get through most of the rest of these. Seahawks, Jackson Smith in Jigba. I think I like this. Geno is a guy that likes to get the ball out quick.
Yep.
That offense has a ton of speed on it. Lockett's an outside guy, obviously Metcalf. Now you go Smith and Jigba, is good. They just had so many issues in so many places. I'm like, is wide receiver actually the best place you can go? But you kind of look around and they could use playmakers. Lockett is getting older. I don't mind this. This definitely is a pass. I mean, ultimately, I think you have to look at it this way too. They got the best receiver in the draft at 20. That's pretty good. I will go pass here.
I'm going pass as well.
By the way, there is injury concerns, though. That does scare me.
Okay.
Barely played last year.
Yeah, that I guess that is a little concerning. But for what he is and what he can add to this offense that already has Kenneth Walker, that already has Tyler Lockett, and what's the strong guy?
DK.
DK, it's scary. I think this helps Geno Smith out a lot. They went defense first. They go offense here. I'm loving what the Seahawks are doing so far in this draft. I'm going with ultimate pass.
Yeah, no, I the more I think about it, the more I like it. It just feels like shouldn't you go like offensive line or something? But there's not really one on the board that sticks out too. Also, the way the board is right now, like the receivers are kind of the best players, which is why you had 4 of them go in a row. Quentin Johnson, Chargers, pass. He is in the exact mold of what they want. Give Justin Herbert a nice big target. He's going to have some drops, but when he catches it, he's impossible to bring down. Mega pass here. I know you're in agreement. The Ravens getting Zay Flowers is like, why do the Ravens always take guys that you're just like, of course they did. Zay Flowers is one of the best playmakers in this draft. He was awesome at BC. He's shifty, like he gets separation. He's quick in that short area, so like he'll be good, assuming that they still run plenty of RPO, even if they don't do quite as much as they did with Roman. Like he can separate quickly, make himself available. He's a fun pairing with Odell Beckham,
and Mark Andrews.
Yeah, no, I like this a lot.
Yeah, I'm giving them a passing grade. Again, the Ravens have invested heavily in their quarterback. You went out and got weapons. You gave your quarterback some money, and then you draft Zay Flowers. I love what the Ravens are doing. Pass.
Yep. And then last but not least for this segment, and then we'll get to the NFC East teams to close it out next. The Vikings, Jordan Addison, I love this pick.
Lord have mercy.
He gets to play opposite of Justin Jefferson. He is – I mean, what Justin Jefferson is not the fastest, not the quickest. He just has this innate ability to find space, get open, focus, and catch the football. And Addison is not Jefferson, but he's got some similar type of stuff. Like, he just produces. He just gets open. He just catches the ball, and he scores, too. 25 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. He won the Biletnikoff 2 years ago at Pitt before transferring to UFC. Like, this dude's a problem. And going to Minnesota in that offense, Jesus.
He's wide receiver, too. I'm interested to see, though, what the Vikings do with Dalvin Cook. That remains to be seen. But as far as Jordan Addison goes, pass.
Yeah, agreed. All right. That leaves the Giants next. The Cowboys and Eagles also have picks in the final 7 that we will break down. We'll do that, finish out our grades next on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. All right, let's get through the rest of the first round, and then we will, in the next segment as well, look at who we think the Commanders should be targeting tonight in the draft. But the Giants take Deonte Banks as we're wrapping up. We've been doing for the last hour or so our draft grades for the first round. Giants take Deonte Banks out of Maryland. I like this a lot. You need speed. You need size for the receivers in this division. If you think of, having to deal with Jahan Dotson, having to deal with Terry McLaurin, they've got Adoree Jackson, but now they have 2. He's a 4.35 guy. He's got elite athleticism. He's pretty big on the size spectrum. Could he struggle as a rookie? For sure, but he'll grow into it, and I think the Giants got just a very, very good player.
Yeah, I love the pick with the Deonte Banks. I think they're just bolstering up, that defense already, led by Kayvon Thibodeau. You got Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. Like, you need some DBs that can go out there and make sure, not giving up big plays, essentially.
Yeah, 4-3 definitely helps you not get beat over the top. Yeah. All right, Bills make a slight jump up. They get Dalton Kincaid. Look, some people think Kincaid's awesome. A lot of people do. He was the 10th overall player on PFF's board. He was a focal point of the Utah offense and the best tight end in college football last year by a lot of metrics. And at the end of the day, the Bills, they have Dawson Knox, but I don't know for how much longer. And getting another playmaker and to try to, I think, revamp their offense, like, I could see them doing a lot of 2 tight end stuff. Not being as focused on the outside, trying to get, make teams pay for doubling up Stephon Diggs or opening up Diggs on the outside. I think they're probably also on some level planning for a life after Diggs. He's been, frustrated at times the last couple of years. Is this maybe the last year that he is there if they don't go and win it all? You also get a player who can help you win immediately, which is the kind of thing you think about if you're the Buffalo Bills and you're not necessarily just thinking about drafting 4 or 5 years down the line. It's like, who can we get that helps us right now? I love this pick. It's a great pick. I know there's a lot of other tight ends later, but they need a very specific thing. They need another weapon, and they don't have a ton of holes, obviously, on the rest of their team because they're one of the best in football and have been for years. They've built it up, and you get to take the luxury item. You get to take a tight end in the first round, and this one's a really, really good one. Yeah,
I like this pick, but they don't pass by too much. They just gave Dawson Knox an extension in September, so this one caught me a little bit by surprise, but also what the Bills have been trying to do is implement more of a running game late into seasons. And I guess you need 2 tight ends sometimes to be able to do that. Being able to get a guy in Dalton Kincaid is probably going to be huge for them because you can also pass out of it. So I like the pick, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I hear you. They probably could have waited and gotten another really good tight end who might even be a better blocker. On the Knox front, they did sign him to that extension, but they can get out of it after next year, after 2020, or I should say in 2024. So he's 6'4" this year. He counts 14 next year against the cap. And you'd have to think they probably restructure that or they move on because he counts 15 and 25 and 15, 9 and 26. Like, they're not paying Dawson Knox that much money.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to because you took Dalton Kincaid at 25. Cowboys take Maisie Smith. This is a pass for me. This is a guy that was higher on boards, I think, earlier in the season. Really, really impressive athlete for someone his size. And I don't know if you saw on the Bleacher Report show, Micah Parsons was doing that. He loves this pick. Tank Lawrence loves this pick. Who am I to disagree with the guys he's going to be playing against? Probably makes all their lives a little bit easier.
Yep.
And defensive tackle at 26, like, the positional value is fine.
Yeah, I love the pick as well. You put him with who they already have on their front is just is crazy. I'm giving them a pass. Yeah, I'm gonna give them a pass.
All right, Jacksonville takes Anton Harrison. Definitely love this pick as well. Harrison's a guy that Logan had been hearing teams were a lot higher on than the mock drafts. Ultimately, he does go towards the end of the first round. Potentially gives them, a left tackle with the suspension of Cam Robinson to start the year. Can get some reps. You can probably slide him over to right tackle potentially. So we'll see what he ultimately winds up being. But a guy who allowed just 9 pressures and almost 450 pass block snaps at the end of the first round. A guy who people think can be a long-term anchor at left tackle in this league, protecting Trevor Lawrence's blind side. Don't hate it at all. That's an easy pass.
I love the pick, and the main reason is he's from D.C., Craig. He's from Northwest D.C., so huge shout-out to the hometown talent that we have. But, again, yeah, he's going to be inserted to protect Trevor Lawrence's blind side, especially with the suspension of Cam Robinson.
Bengals get Miles Murphy, continue the Clemson to the Bengals connection, where the guys just get to wear different color stripes. T. Higgins obviously did that a couple years ago. Miles Murphy, I mean, look, after his freshman year, people thought he was going to be top 10, top 5 type of pick. He's kind of stayed at that level, though. And he's been a part of a great defense over the last couple of years, and he gets to now go play with some pretty solid linemen they've got there, Hendrickson amongst others, and kind of ensures them for the future. That's a good room for him to go to. They'll get the most out of him. They've obviously got a ton offensively. I think if Harrison had fallen one more pick, that potentially could have been a pick for them. Going O-line, I wouldn't have been surprised if they did something like Steve Avila, the guard out of TCU, but ultimately, like, passing grade, you get a super high upside edge rusher at 28. Like, that's not bad at all for a team that, by the way, is going to, hopefully be having guys needing to chase Patrick Mahomes around in January and early February.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think they're actually probably going to end up going O-line in the second round, probably trying to get a guard. I think they have 2 solid tackles right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I haven't signed Orlando Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Brown definitely shores that up. So, I mean, it just depends on what you like at right tackle. Yeah. They signed, what's his name, from Dallas, and it just didn't really work out last year, but maybe in year 2 he's a lot better. Yep. So, like, it kind of would have been the insurance policy. But, yeah, I mean, if they had gone Avila, if they had gone Osiris Torrance, like, that would have also made sense. But they ultimately, like, they got a good football player who has massive upside, which when you're a team like the Bengals is a really good luxury to be able to do that. If he just is fine, like, it's not like you wasted a top 10 pick on a guy that's boom or bust. You did it at 28. Like, okay. This one we got right yesterday. Brian Breezy.
Yes, sir.
I think you talked me into that at 29 for New Orleans. Passing grade here for sure. Good interior player on the defensive line. He can play multiple spots and potentially even can line up outside. They love big, powerful linemen down there. That's how they play guys like Cam Jordan, and Breezy fits that mold.
I'm going passing grade. Shout out to the Breezy family. One of my former campers, by the way.
Oh, nice.
It's crazy. Nice. It's crazy. It all comes full circle.
Yeah. Imagine when you get to be my age. You're just going to have him running all over the NFL.
Yes, sir.
All right. Eagles take Nolan Smith. Son of a. Of course they did. They got the freaky athletic guy who doesn't have a lot on his plate, who can just line up outside on third down and be a behemoth for his first couple of years in the league. He gets to learn from, some of the best, like guys like Brandon Graham, like Josh Sweat is the comparison. Reddick, yeah. Like those are the guys that he was compared to. And was like, oh, he's like Hassan Reddick. Well, now he gets to learn from Hassan Reddick. The Eagles are just not fair, man.
They're going to be nasty. On the interior, they're going to be nasty. And then you also add Nolan Smith. Brandon Graham, he only signed a 1-year deal. I think this might be his last year. So, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, they're going to be able to just step in and they just got depth.
That's how they do it.
On top of depth.
It's depth, scary. But it's also like, okay, we'll let a guy leave in a couple of years. Or like if you're Brandon Graham and you want to keep coming back on minimum deals because you just like being in Philly, like we'll let you. And if the young guy beats you, then Brandon Graham's the kind of guy that'll be like, all right, hey, he's the starter now. I'll come in and get my sacks on third down. Brandon Graham, he had 13.5 sacks last year, I believe. And then last but not least, Felix Enudike Uzoma out of K-State goes from Manhattan over to Kansas City, crosses over into Missouri. Actually, I think they practice in Kansas. I can't remember where the facility is. Anyway, nobody cares about Midwest geography, at least right now. Passing grade, like they get another pass rusher. That's kind of the position that was mocked to them. It definitely fits a need. Other top players available that they could have taken, like you could go, I guess with someone else, but like he kind of feels like the right guy. And I don't know, unless I'm missing someone, Anthony, it doesn't feel like there was someone crazy available on the board. I got to look at the best available also because, next segment is our best available.
Yep. I'm giving them a passing grade as well. Frank Clark, he's about to be in the last year of his deal. And you're going to need somebody else. You have Karlaftis from last year, and I just think they want to get younger and still be able to bolster that pass rush there.
Yeah, there's not – I mean, Meyer, they've got Kelsey, obviously. They don't run a ton of two tight end stuff. So, I don't think that Meyer is the right play there. And then you're talking about other defensive players being the best available. Like, I could have seen them going Brian Branch and kind of insurance for Honey Badger and kind of that similar football player role.
Yeah, but the two rookies they had last year at safety, they played all right.
Yeah, and there's questions about, like, look, we keep putting Branch at the nickel, but, like, it's not like he's the biggest dude ever. So there's real questions there. So I don't really have a huge – unless, like, they wanted to, kind of reach for a receiver, go like Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss. Like, I don't really – like, they were kind of stuck not having a logical option. So the pass rusher for sure makes sense for them. All right, those are our pass-fail grades. Basically, everybody passed with the Lions in the first round of the NFL draft.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.